Good morning. Good morning, guys. Trying to make sure we're live. Good morning. Good morning. As you get here, make sure that you say hello and let me know that you're here. And let me pull this up on my phone to make sure I can see well. Oh, where are we? Okay. Here we are. Let me let everyone know that we're here. All right, perfect. For whatever reason, it feels like it's been a long, long time since I've been here with you guys. So I'm super excited to be here this morning. And I really wanted to make sure that I gave you lots of value. And I'm doing this short and sweet today because I have a luncheon that I'm going to with my mom and my sisters and maybe my brother too. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to make it, but it's we try to do this as often as possible. And so a lot of times my mom lives a little around an hour away. And so a lot of times we go there and have lunch, but she's coming out into our area today. And so we're all grabbing the opportunity to just sit and have a chat with her and just love on her and appreciate her because, our moms are pretty precious, right? And so we want to make sure that we're doing that. So I am keeping it short and sweet so that I can get to where I need to go to be with her and my family. And so I've made notes so that I can get right to the point and really share the value with you today. So today, what's really holding you back? And the hint is it's not discipline. Hmm. What do you think about that, right? Any thoughts? So, first off, I want to say thank you for being here. Whether you're here live or whether you're watching the replay, I appreciate each and every one of you. And I'm super excited because what I've decided to do, because we're only meeting once a week now, is that I have created a schedule of the next um, 12 weeks of things that we'll work on. And so if there's anything in particular that you want some clarity on, you want to get some information on, you can either put it in the comments or you can direct message me because I want to really start having a weekly series that is about things that would benefit you. So not just affirmation and journal prompts anymore. I just feel like I've kind of um, gone through that phase and I'm ready to really get into some super content. So one of the things that you guys know about me are the people that are new in the community. Maybe you don't, but I am a master transformational coach and a hypnotist. And so transformational coaching, people kind of think, well, what is that? Well, actually, I started off as a health coach, then became a life coach, and then I went to a mastery program where it was becoming a master transformational coach because it's not just about motivation. I mean, if motivation was all you needed, you could just do a few affirmations and journal prompts and watch a motivational video or go to a motivational seminar and everything will be great. But that's not what it is. And it's not just goal setting either, because we all create goals, right? And then most of the time we give up on them along the way. So this is about changing the story that's been running your life or running your show. So we've talked about a lot of this many times, that um, our beliefs shape our reality, right? So most people think they have a strategy problem, but really it's a belief problem. And so I've shared this story before, but I'm going to share it again because I really feel like it's relevant to what we're talking about. When I was 16, my dad and I don't remember if my sister was with us or not, but we went to visit my grandmother, his mother. And to say we weren't close is an understatement. I called her by her first name instead of Mama, which my other grandmother was Mama. You can tell I'm from the South, right? But this one we called Irene, and because that was her name, right? And my dad was super proud because I was about to go to college, and I was the first one in the family to go to college. And I was a very good student. I was involved in so many things when I was in high school, especially my senior year. I was class president. I was the president of the art club. I was in the who's who in students. I was the I was on the yearbook staff. I was celebrated because I named the yearbook that year. It was a brand new school, and I was involved in a lot, and I loved it. And so I was super excited about getting into college. But I will be honest, one of my friends when I was in high school, who was exceptionally smart. I mean, she actually was the number two highest score on SATs and all for that year, second highest score, right? Well, I definitely was not there. And one of the things that she said to me when we got our scores back was, and I know I'm regressed from the grandmother thing, but that's okay. It's a story, right? But she said, "Oh, Vicky, you'll never get into college with that score." And I remember that deflating me a little bit, but I thought, well, maybe she's wrong. And I sent out my applications everywhere I wanted to go. And I did get into college, actually, to a private women's college in Charlotte, North Carolina, called Queens College. Back then, it was Queens College. Now it's Queens University, and it's no longer a women's college. It is for everybody, right? It's a co-ed college now. But back then it was a private women's college, and it might have not have been as exclusive as this friend I was just talking about. She went to Duke, so a little bit of difference there. But I got into college, right? So I was exceptionally proud because this friend had already told me that I wouldn't be able to, and I did. So when we were at my grandmother's house, Irene's house, my dad was telling her that he was super excited because I had just gotten into college. So instead of looking at me and saying, "Oh, I'm so excited for you. Where are you going? Congratulations." No, none of that. She looked at me, she looked at my dad, and she said, "I don't know why she won't finish." And I had never done anything that would have solicited that kind of response because I was only 16, and I did the things I was told to do. There was nothing that would have her believe that I wouldn't finish. But for whatever reason, I owned that from that point on. So I didn't finish college. I got married, right? That husband, when we were getting a divorce, one of the things he said about me was that I never finished anything because I started art school and I didn't finish that either. There were so many things that I didn't finish. But that was not true prior to this conversation with Irene. It changed. What changed was I owned what she said. And so my amazing brain, my subconscious mind, spent a lot of time searching for the people who would make that true and for the actions within me that would make that true. So, what was the real block from there? The real block from there was that I let what somebody said about me become me, right? So, what I want you to understand is the subconscious mind is running the show 95% of the time. And just regular coaching, regular affirmations, journal prompts, all these little activities, that speaks to 5% of what's going on. It speaks to the 5% that the subconscious mind isn't working on, right? But transformation happens when we speak to the 95%. So, if you're just joining me, thank you for being here. And I'm just going through a few talking points right now because I'm changing my format. And for the next 12 weeks, I have a weekly I have set up a weekly task for me to share information that will help you in your life. Something that is a little bit more deeper than just an affirmation and a journal prompt. And so today, I'm talking about unlocking your potential. So, from what I just said, it's inner transformation that we're working about. So, most of the time, we're overwhelmed by all the things that we try. Where we know we want to do something to make things different. So, we buy another book, we listen to another podcast, we buy a course, we do all these external things to change what's going on or to hopefully change what's going on, right? But the thing that coaching does is it helps you to integrate, not just accumulate more information, because you don't need more information. You need it to be substantial. You need to make it where it is just who you are, right? So it's kind of like you don't need more paint colors. You need to strip the old wallpaper first, right? So just envision this. You've got wallpaper on the wall. You want to change it. You just get more paint and more paint and more paint and more paint. And what you really needed to do was strip the old wallpaper off first. So it's kind of like the scenario I talk about a lot with you buy a brand new sofa. You don't when they come to deliver it and they say, "Where do you want it?" You don't say, "Well, just put it on top of the other one." You say, "Can you take the old one away and leave that one there?" Or you get rid of it first, right? So it never in your wildest dreams would you imagine just putting the new furniture on top of the old furniture. And that's what we essentially do most of the time. So what's the quickest way to change your life? Is to change how you see yourself. Like in my story earlier, right? I never saw myself as the person who doesn't finish things until Irene, my grandmother, said that's who I was. And then I lived up to that over and over and over again. So, have you ever experienced that too? Where Suddenly somebody has said something about you, and then you just start owning it. Just think about it. So, what's the quickest way to become the version of you that's different? One of the things that I've done with several clients that I on the top of my head, one of the things is I have a conversation with them. And I intuitively, I don't know how I do it, but I know the questions to ask. And I do have a few set questions that I ask everybody. But as the person gives me an answer, then I know the next question to ask to get a little more clarity on what's going on. And as I get clarity on what's going on, then I have a way to help them come up with new ideas, new answers. We talk about that. I have one of my clients, when I first started working with her, she signed on for a year program because, to be honest with you, I had talked to her previously before she signed on with me, and it took her 3 years to decide she wanted to do this because she kept trying to do what she wanted to do on her own over and over and over again. For 3 years, she tried to make all the changes that she wanted to make, even a few of the changes she wanted to make, and nothing would stick. It's like she could force herself to be different for a little bit of time, but then she would revert back and start off from square one again, sometimes square -5, right? So when she reached out after that 3 years, she said, "Okay, Vicki," she said, "I'm ready to listen now. Tell me what we can do." So I had another conversation with her to see what was happening in her life right then. And then I shared with her a few little ideas of what I thought would work good to work together. She decided that she would sign on for the year program. And so we met every week for a year. And when we first met up, her initial thing that she wanted was to lose weight. But we discovered in our conversation and the things that we were doing, because remember, one of the things that we're doing is we're moving the old sofa before the new one comes in, right? So if I had started off with telling her all the things that she's going to be, that would have been putting the new sofa on top of the old sofa. So we started with, where are you at? And got a really good indicator. And then in my year-long program, I have a questionnaire that I have everyone fill out, and it's a digital thing. So she printed hers out and actually did it that way as well. But you answer all these questions, and in those questions, it's evaluating all the areas of your life and where you are now. And so at the end of that questionnaire, I looked at where she was at. I kind of made a map of what was going on and what the underlying current was of everything. And we started working on each one of those one at a time. And the main one was, in the very beginning, she didn't really even like herself very much. She felt like a failure. She felt like a failure in her life, and her only thing that was going well in her life was her business, and she was still not really, really happy there. But her relationships were failing. Her with her family, her spouse, all kinds of things were not where she wanted them. But it all boiled down to, like I said, she really didn't like herself that much, because she was looking at all this outward stuff and it didn't measure up to what she thought she should be. So we started working on that first. And so that's what helps is having someone else looking at this version of who you are, who you choose to be, who you want to be, and where you're at. Because at the end of our year-long program, all of her relationships had changed, how she saw herself changed. And the amount of pride's not what, confidence in who she was. Now, she lost a little weight. She didn't lose the weight that she had wanted to lose, but man, oh man, did she have a different life, an extremely different life, and a life that she loved. And I've got more of those clients, but we won't get into that today. But there's nothing to lose by tapping into finding that better version of yourself, to looking at what your identity is, because your identity, who you think you are, like me with my grandmother saying and having me believe that I don't finish anything, all of my actions aligned to that. So what we do first is we see the big picture. What's actually going on? What's the underneath, under the neath? You know, that proverbial onion that we are, the layers. We try to get to the most inner layer that we can get to. And then I help you become that version of who you are. So it's not a struggle. It's not a constantly trying to convince yourself that you're something you're not. It's helping you to identify and become that version of you before there's any evidence of it anywhere. So like I said, today I'm going to be doing this short and sweet. So we're getting close to time to call it. So before I do, I want you to know that I'm opening up a few spots for this free clarity call that I'm doing this week. And so if you're feeling the nudge, if you're feeling like there's something going on within you, that your identity may not be exactly what you want it to be, let's talk. There's nothing to lose and everything to unlock. So I'm going to put a link to the scheduled call in the comments, and then go ahead and schedule a call. You'll be glad you did, because I'm telling you, until you change that inner identity of who you are, we've talked about our thermostat of what we believe about ourselves. Until you get to that place and you can feel it inside, it's not really going to change. Not long term, anyway. We can all change, but a lot of times it doesn't last long. And that's why a lot of romantic relationships, right? People show up as who they want to be, but that may not be who they really are inside, or who they believe themselves to be. And so it's not that they're trying to manipulate you most of the time. It's that they really, really want to be that person. But deep down, they don't really see that in them. So they can't do it for very long. And then the light's shining on and it's not what you thought. But we do that to ourselves too, right? So it's time to step away from that and become that version of you that you want to be. All right. So like I said, I'm just opened up a few spots from a free clarity call for this week. And so if that's what you want, if you feel this nudge of, I want to know more, or maybe that's me, or that's something I've dealt with, how do I do that? Any of that. There's nothing to lose and everything to unlock. So schedule a call. Let's have a conversation. Let's see if I can give you at least one piece of advice that will help move the needle for you. And then we'll see if it's something that we want to work on together. I would love to help. All right, guys. So it's been great to be here with you today. And I appreciate each and every one of you. And if there's something that I've said that makes you think, makes you question, put it in the comments and let's start a conversation about that. Because I'm always wanting to know. All right, so I will see you guys next Monday. And as I said, I've created a map for the next 12 weeks of things that I can help with, that I can talk to you about. And if there's something in particular that you want a little more clarity on, then either put it in the comments or DM me, and I'll put that in with my agenda. And so we're going to work on this together. And I will see you next Monday. And like I said, grab one of those clarity calls that I'm opening up for this week. And I will talk to you soon. Mwah.